racism, homelessness, economic disparity,
fatherlessness, incarceration, motherlessness.
Trauma has affected me in so many ways. I mean, the fact that my parents had to come to South Central from 2 different countries goes to show that there's already trauma in that. I grew up in a household where full of alcoholics. My mom had emotionally and physically abused us growing up, and I want to say that I moved on from this, but I did not. And as a matter of fact, like as I'm engaged and hoping to get married next year, a lot of that trauma is still there. I'm getting therapy, and to this day, like I cry every day.
Going from a family that had 2 parents to then just having a mom around and not really seeing my dad a lot was definitely something that was hard, and I still struggle with now. It's something that carries on, and I have a hard time trusting people and have a hard time believing that things would work out like I hoped.
Hi, I'm Tommy Nixon, CEO of UYWI.
And I'm Dr. David Wang. I'm a clinical psychologist and professor and a pastor, and I conduct research on trauma and traumatic stress. Did you know that 70% of individuals worldwide have been exposed to some type of trauma in their lifetime? And trauma is even more prevalent in urban settings. In the US alone, nearly 90% of individuals in urban areas have experienced multiple traumatic events in their lifetime. In fact, among pastors and Christian leaders, one study reported approximately 80% experiencing an event that was potentially traumatic, with 56% reporting symptoms related to post-traumatic stress disorder. The impact of trauma on survivors can be long-standing, shaping our thoughts, behaviors, our emotions, and even rewiring our brain over time. In fact, studies have shown that childhood trauma can profoundly shape our physical, mental, and relational health for the rest of our lives, even leading to early death. And although there's less research in this area, we've also observed how trauma can be destructive to one's spiritual life and relationship with God. Many Christian leaders who work with urban youth have themselves survived trauma or have witnessed and accompanied youth in their trauma. In fact, many of us go into ministry because we know what it's like to experience and survive horrible tragedies in life. In fact, even as we're offering trauma-informed training to equip urban leaders to care for traumatized youth, we have found that many of the leaders themselves need psychological support and training, either for their own trauma or the trauma that they have witnessed in the children and in the neighborhoods that they work in.
And though our Christian faith was born out of trauma, Christ's death on the cross, the topic of trauma is just surprisingly absent in the training resources for Christian leaders. Christian leaders have little faith-based resources to train and equip them to accompany and disciple individuals who have survived trauma. And because the impact of trauma is often long-term, any discipleship process that takes seriously the impact of trauma needs to take a similar long-term perspective. So we've teamed up with Dr. Dave Wang to develop trauma-informed discipleship. We seek to reimagine what Christian formation and discipleship might look like if it were to start with the premise that most of our youth groups have experienced trauma in the past and or will experience trauma in the future. We seek to reimagine what Christian formation and discipleship might look like if God's work of healing and restoration was not only a one-time event, but a lifetime journey done in the context of community that supports each other's spiritual as well as emotional needs. We believe that this is close to God's heart and vision for the church. But we need your help to bring this vital resource to life. We want to create a 2-video series for trauma-informed discipleship. The first is a series of videos to help give a framework and tools to help leaders understand trauma for themselves, how to work with youth that have experienced it. And the second will be a series of short videos to help the leader engage their youth in important conversations to start and continue the process of healing and growth in Christ. We need $10,000 to create this resource. Our goal for Giving Tuesday is to raise $5,000, of which will then be matched by a generous partner, dollar for dollar, up to $5,000, for a total of $10,000. Please give to this groundbreaking and important work today. Click the link below, and thank you so much for all of your support.